And last time in the Student's Journey series, I discussed how I got into A Course in Miracles and how my relationship with A Course in Miracles, listening to Holy Spirit and so on, had begun. The Course consists of a text. It's about 620 pages. Small print, fairly large pages. So a big text, and then 365 work lessons, daily lessons. The Course says you're only supposed to do one per day. So it takes at least a year, and usually takes a good deal longer than that, I think. So as I'm sort of surveying the book to see if this is something I really want to invest that type of time in, I'm getting answers in the text and in some of the lessons as I'm just skimming them to start with that really are resonating with me super powerfully. And there's some beautiful original ideas. It says in one of the early lessons, I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm always upset because I see a meaningless world. Because what I'm seeing doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem loving. And then it goes, I think that's a wonderful, wonderful teaching and realization. And then it goes on to say something like, which is to me is such an incredibly original thought. One of the next lessons, I'm upset because a meaningless world engenders fear, because I think I'm in competition with God, because I'm trying to create the authorship of what the world means, and the meaninglessness brings up this anxiety around, I don't know what it means, so I got to get in there and kind of write my story about it. But God's already written a story about it, so this inner conflict occurs. Anyhow, that type of lesson, and there are hundreds of them, 365. There's another beautiful lesson in the text. Jeshua says there's only one lesson in the text, which to me is a bit of a clue. But he says, if you're upset, at least you can admit that you don't like how you feel now. And that sounds sensible. And if that's true, you might consider the fact that you'd be better off if you were wrong. And you might be willing to look at what your assumptions are and what your beliefs are in the situation differently. You might become open-minded. That's such a simple, beautiful teaching. The Course has lots and lots of teachings, lots and lots of, it's full of amazing things. But for me, there was one that sealed the deal and really has been my favorite lesson ever since, because I'd been in this profound hell and I needed something that knew about it if it was going to help me. It had to know what that was like and what the experience was like, because otherwise how could it reach me in the fullness of my experience and my journey? So I'm just going to read this lesson. It's lesson 93, just the first little bit of it, to give a sense. This is the one that sold me on A Course in Miracles. This is before I started really doing it all, but I saw this. It says, it's lesson 93, and it says, light and joy and peace abide in me. That's the name of the lesson. And this is how it starts. You think you are the home of evil, darkness, and sin. You think if anyone could see the truth about you, he would be repelled, recoiling from you as if from a poisonous snake. You think if what is true about you were revealed to you, you would be struck with horror so intense that you would rush to death by your own hand, living on after seeing this being impossible. That statement touched into the frequency of what I had experienced. That's how I felt. And it knew how I felt, and it knew what it was about. And I thought, this book is really of Christ, because it's going back into the darkness, as Christ did, as Christ does, to reach us in our pain, to reach us in our hell, and to be there with us, and to walk us out. And the walking out begins in the next paragraph, but I felt received because of what the first paragraph said. It says, these are beliefs so firmly fixed that it is difficult to help you see that they are based on nothing. That you have made mistakes is obvious, that you have sought salvation in strange ways, have been deceived, deceiving and afraid of foolish fantasies and savage dreams, and have bowed down to idols made of dust. All this is true by what you now believe. Today we question this not from the point of view of what you think, but from a very different reference point, from which such idle thoughts are meaningless. This is because these thoughts are not in accordance with God's will. These weird beliefs he does not share with you. This is enough to prove they are wrong, but you do not perceive that this is so. So anyhow, the lesson goes on for a good deal longer. It's embedded in the, it's in the first third of the workbook lessons. But when it comes to A Course in Miracles, I felt in my darkness, in my insanity, in my fear, that it had just what I needed at that time to come and meet me. And I don't really spend a lot of time with the Course anymore. But it was created in such a way, and it reached me in such a way, and transformed my life in such a way, and gave me such profound gifts, connection with my inner teacher, with the Holy Spirit, a development of peace around a world that I just could not function within, really, at the depths of my experience for a period of time. And this went back, and this is talking about the actual depths of experiencing hell and building a way out. And if you can do that, if you have something that can reach people when they're in hell and build them a way out, you've got something truly valuable. Course in Miracles is a profound aspect of my journey that I'm eternally grateful for. I feel like other things go beyond it. I feel like the Way of Mastery goes beyond it. But the Course is so essential in terms of establishing what it calls Christ mind, building your relationship with your internal teacher, which then can lead you on to other things like the Way of Mastery. And also, for me, one of the most amazing things about the Course was its intellectual might, because I was in so much fear that all I was trusting was my intellect. And it gave me trust that I believed something so intellectually mighty could be trustworthy, and took me from that point and started walking me and in a way that could bring me out of the darkness. And that's what it did. And I've been a student of the Course for 33 years, and I will always treasure it. And it's just become much more popular because Marianne Williamson was just running for president, and Marianne became famous writing a book about her experience as a Course student called Return to Love. But that's what it's really about. She's right. It's about returning to love. But love not just as an experience, but love as the recognition of the truth. Not because it's pretty, not because it's nice, not because we'd like it to be true, but because it is true. Only love is real. It's a statement of reality. It's not a statement of wishful thinking. And it's a statement that holds up to all inquiry. It holds up to everything. And even within love, there is the capacity to create the experience that's discussed at the beginning of Lesson 93. Love is so expansive that it gives you the opportunity to create whatever you desire. But the reality of what's giving you that freedom is always love itself. And the return back is what it's all about. It's what the Course is about. It's what the Way of Mastery is about. Is there a larger plan taking place? Yes, but the larger plan is based on us, each of us, finding what it calls salvation for ourselves, returning to truth. Returning to truth. So, A Course in Miracles. I'll probably be talking more about A Course in Miracles, but I wanted to share my favorite lesson with you. Thank you for listening.